It's the Thursday phone in. I'm Matty, and this is in association with Leith Spirits and Rare Find Whiskey. We're going to get stuck right into it. I don't know what the topics of conversation are going to be tonight. We never did one after we drew 3-3 with Rangers, so we might talk a wee bit about that. We also had a very, very comfortable 3-1 win against Motherwell at the weekend, and we are looking ahead to what should hopefully be another comfortable game against Clydebank on Saturday in the Scottish Cup. And I seem I always want to call him Cowdenbeath. If I accidentally call him Cowdenbeath through the duration of this episode, you know who I mean, right? You didn't need to correct me. I do mean Clydebank, and I apologise in advance for it. Joe, you were first on. Where do you want to kick us off tonight?
Well, I'll kick off with a real positive. It's about time we win the cup again.
Yes.
And I keep giving us home draws against easy teams. I'll get to the. Can't wait to get to Hampden for the first semi. There you are. We're going there.
Where'd you see us finishing? You think we've got a good chance of winning the cup, Joe?
I mean, provided you avoid the likes of Celtic at Parkhead along the way, every other team. I mean, this league's proven, apart from Celtic, every team's beatable, and even Celtic nearly got beat the other night. So, and Hibs are on the up. We need a couple of key players. We need that creative midfield player, but we're very much on the up. And hats off to David Gray.
Mm-hmm.
What a transformation last 10 games have been.
It was something we spoke about on Extra Time on Monday about how far Hibs could go this season, where we would expect to finish or hope to finish based on how the sort of the shift in form has gone. How do you see the rest of the season panning out, Joe?
I think it's only going to be progress from here. I mean, there's going to be the odd wobble along the way, but I see no reason why we can't finish fourth. Hell, we could even finish third. If you look at that league closely, we could even finish third.
It's crazy to think that we're still in the running for that, isn't it?
Well, I think Dundee United are flattering to deceive. The wheels are going to come off them soon enough.
And is there anybody else in the league that you think we should be worried about, Joe?
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, Celtic are in a class of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers are quite good at home, but they've got a terrible away record. So the answer is no. I don't think there's anyone Hibs need fear now.
And what do you put the change in fortunes down to?
A big thing was moving to three at the back. That seems to suit the personnel that Hibs have on the books at the moment. Moving to three at the back. I still think we need that creative midfield player. I'm like a crack record. If they played Dylan Levitt at 10, we might have him already under the, he certainly had a good game the other day when he was on. But, I've been a fan of his for a while, as a few of the boys on the podcast are.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. Obviously, he had the start on Saturday, came in, and I thought he had a good game. So I think I was maybe a wee bit overcritical of him. I thought he maybe could have done a wee bit more to impact the game, but I watched it back, and I actually think he had a really good game. So how would you have assessed Levitt's performance on Saturday, Joe?
Well, obviously I'm biased because I'm a fan of his, but actually, considering he's not played for such a long time, what was it, August, the last time he had a start? He's going to need games to get a bit more match sharp. But I thought he made a good start, and I think he's worth his place on Saturday, for sure.
And we should probably congratulate you as well, Joe, because I think you got the team spot on as well. Which I think is the first time it's happened.
Is that right?
I think so. I think it's the first time we've had 1 to 11 absolutely bang on, particularly when there's been like a wild card thrown in there, like Levitt coming in and also Ahora coming in for Miller as well. And you were vindicated as well. It was a good performance for the Hibs, wasn't it?
Aye. Hibs are on the way up. Watch this space. This is a year for another cup win. It's not going to be another 100 however many years this time.
I hope you're right. I'll bring Jeff in next. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks, Matty. Yeah, I agree with Joe that it's about time we won the cup again. Please, that'd be great. I heard you mention on one of the podcasts that somebody on Hibsnet. I can't get on Hibsnet anymore. Anyway, I won't go into that. Somebody mentioned we were dire for 20 minutes on Saturday.
Yeah, it was that was a post on it.
I'm like, that's the first time, one of the first times this season at home, where the first 20 minutes, I thought we played really well without creating a lot, but we moved the ball with purpose, tugged them all over the park. I thought, is he watching a different game? Because it was one of those 20 minutes where I wasn't thought, oh, it's going to be one of those days. I thought, we're on it today. You're absolutely on the front foot. We're still lacking a bit up front with injuries and the creative midfielder that Joe keeps going on about. But yeah, I thought we were really good. And Dylan Levitt, he's a tidy footballer. Moves the ball, can see the pass. And Big Triantis alongside him was fantastic on Saturday. Really good. Nice to see.
Triantis is definitely making a few folk, myself included, eat their words, isn't he? Like with his performances, he's been terrific in the last few games.
Yeah, he was a bit Marmite for a few people, for the support. I was definitely on the side that I was glad to see him back. So I thought the end of the season when Gray was playing him a bit more, he was one of the standouts. We were pretty shit in games, but he was progressing us. So yeah, I don't want to say I told you so, but I was quite happy to see him come back. And the first game against Kilmarnock, he was like primetime Busquets for about 45 minutes. But there you go. Yeah, so yeah, good.
And it was a game on Saturday, Jeff, that never really looked like we were going to lose. Even when it went 2-1, I think earlier in the season that goal might have sparked panic, but we just went right up the park and got the penalty, didn't we? Like, how do you think that mentality shifted?
I think it helps having. I think as well as the team having confidence, you can see it oozes through them now. A few, maybe 8 or 10, 11 games ago, we lost that goal. There'd be a different atmosphere in the ground as well, and good different atmosphere amongst the players. Now it's kind of like the players, we lost a goal, so what? We'll go to the park and score, or we can keep this shower of shit out. And I think the fact is transmitting itself to the fans a bit more at Easter Road. Because the group near me, where I sit in East Stand, there was no sort of, oh, here we go again. It was just like, yeah, we could draw it 2-2. I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen, but there wasn't that same sort of panic when they pulled the goal back, which is, I think it's all to do with confidence in the team. And we as the fans are starting to be a bit more confident. I mean, it could all fall off a cliff in a couple of weeks, but let's enjoy it while we can. I'm happy, happy to see them play that way.
That was, again, formed part of our conversation on Extra Time on Monday, was about how likely it is that it falls off a cliff. And I think from memory, right, my memory is no great on these things, but I think when we were talking about it, our rationale for it being more likely to sustain than to fall off a cliff was the fact that we don't seem to be fluking games at the moment. Like, the performances seem to be relatively consistent and we look pretty good in most games at the moment. And would you agree with that, Jeff? Do you think that that's a sign that things are going to stay pretty good for us?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I don't want to jinx it. We're Hibs fans, I don't want to say. We found a system that works for the players that we've got. We probably will recruit 1 or 2 in before the end of the window and get Bowie, Kurevich, Newell, maybe Ewan if he's ever seen again. It's looking good. It's looking really good. And the way the confidence and the way the team are fighting for each other, I think, we should be positive and looking up the way. And as Joe says, I mean, third would be. After our start, that would be David Gray needs another knighthood. On top of the Sir David Gray. I don't know what else he gets. But fourth is definitely Lord Gray. Well, as a Scotsman, I would never accept anything from the government anyway. But whatever we go. Yeah, I just think we can be confident, but with a small C, and keep looking up and not down at the moment.
Fair enough. Callum, I'll bring you in next. Everything's for you.
Fine, thank you.
Good. What do you want to start with?
I wasn't at the Rangers game, but I was at the Motherwell game, and I think, like folks said, the first 20 minutes, it wasn't great, but we had control of the game, and I think you've seen the difference with Levitt and Triantis in the middle, because I'm sure there was some stat about O'Hora attempted the most passes in a game this season out of anybody, and I think that just shows the kind of confidence when you've got 2 midfielders that are comfortable to take the ball with their back to the game. And obviously we came alive, scored 2 quick goals. As expected, Motherwell came back into it, but the reaction, and as Jeff touched on the fans, there was a roar started for the East and came round, go right behind them, and again, we got the perfect response. I don't know if the changes maybe disrupted things a wee bit, because I noticed when Miller came on, one of the first things Miller done was get caught wrong side of his man, and they kind of broke up the park. And I don't know what it is with him, but I think it's like when we're winning a game, he just loves to bomb forward, no matter kind of almost at all costs. But obviously, he's a handful, and he won us that penalty. But yeah, we played with like a confidence. I don't think we're kind of getting above ourselves. It's really good to see. My concern is it's like when the cup comes along, it sort of shifts the focus, and then you've got such a kind of lesser team, and then the next game is up in Ross County. So, it's a kind of tricky one, like to kind of maintain this kind of good form, especially given that people are going to expect changes because with being Clydebank, and they're going to want to see this one playing and that one playing. And I just hope that we field our strongest 11, and then we can bring on the players that have got the kind of few minutes in the tank.
So there's been quite a lot of chat on that. I was looking at the thread on Hibsnet previewing the game on Saturday, and there's a bit of disagreement on that thread about whether you can afford to kind of make wholesale changes. And I think people, with some justification, point to the Celtic game earlier in the season to say I think it was 7 changes for that game, and we obviously came a bit unstuck and it was crappy. And what that did was immediately killed all the good feel-good factor, because we had a couple of really good wins going into that one, then that shocker, and then the wheels kind of came off. For what you're saying there, Carmen, are you thinking start strong and try to kind of get the game to bed?
Aye, 100%. I know people are really keen to see Bowie in that, and I know there was talk in the press, I think yesterday or today, that there's a good chance it could feature on Saturday, but I think we need to go out there. Similar, if you remember back to we were involved in the first cup game when we played a junior side, and I think it was Yogi Hughes. We put out strongest 11, like Zamama and Stokes and that. They all started. So I just no taking an eye off the ball, because even I appreciate Ross County have picked up a bit of form, but as Joe said, we shouldn't be fearing anyone. We should be going up there to win, and then after that, is it St Mirren and Aberdeen possibly? But we've got games that we can win, or we should be going certainly to look not to be losing anyway.
How confident are you for the rest of the season, Cam? Where do you think we'll end up?
I look at this run that we're on now, and I appreciate it's not quite the same as Aberdeen's at the start of the season, but it can so quickly change, and we've seen it with ourselves. We went from one extreme to the other, total polar opposites to Aberdeen. I just hope we can get that continuity, who we bring in and what we bring in. I see there's tweets going about that we're going to bring in 2 of these X Factor signings, and there's 2 younger guys coming in. There's a young guy linked to Bournemouth today from Chelsea, a winger, and the rumours are that he's going to come straight to us, and just the usual kind of stuff. But if we can get 2 or 3 players that are going to impact the starting 11, because we have been affected by injury and stuff. But I mean, hats off to the run that we've been on. If we can get over this kind of hurdle in the cup, and at least go up there and no lose, then I'll keep that good factor going. And then you've got players coming back into the team. Something like Boyle. Boyle finally sell out the team. They've got to work hard to get back in. And the likes of Levitt, I really liked his. He comes across so fucking dour in his interviews and that. But watching that, he just said like, just kept working hard. And he got his chance. And what I found really interesting was that David Gray had said, I tend to just watch interviews with Hibs TV, but I watched one of the ones with, I think it was one that the Observer posted. But he'd actually said that he was going to start Levitt in the Rangers game until he came down with a bug. And I was really happy to hear that, because obviously Quan got picked and he was heavily criticised because he has been poor. He was hooked quite early in the 2 games that he played. But I really like that Levitt was still in his mind, because there's a lot of discussion around we don't play the right system, but that lad is a baller and he can play in any system. You need to maybe give him the cover and whatever else, but I think playing 3 at the back allows us to play a Dylan Levitt anywhere in that midfield.
It's interesting you talk about X Factor signings. I always think like with Hibs luck, they'll be shite at football, but they'll absolutely nail their initiation song. Remy on the YouTube comments says, "Hi lads, happy birthday, Ian." He says, "Matty, I couldn't help but notice you and a few others before you get mixed up with the Caddens. My laddie Cameron has answered to find them Cadden and Nadden. No explanation needed. So Cadden and Nadden going forward, I think I can get on board with that. I'm pretty sure John uses that to remember who is who as well. Speaking of John, other John, how are you doing?
Doing fine yourself?
Yeah, all good. Glad to be back on the phone now.
But can I give a call out to the? I call it the VAR panel, but the proper title is the Key Match Incident Review Panel, who looked at the penalty against Rangers.
Yes.
And they're top trolling because they voted 3-2 to say it was a penalty.
Aye, well done, them.
It was apparently quite a difficult decision, and it was 50-50, and it was purely down to the judgment of the referee. But the panel was split 3-2, which I thought was worth a mention. Top trolling.
3-2 in favour
But
of
no,
the good
it's
guys.
I think I can only be content where we are just now. So if we go back sort of 3 or 4 months, I mean, I was saying, look, we don't need to panic.
Mhm.
I mean, things will turn around, things will get better. We're now at the stage where just because things are on the up, you don't get too low and you don't get too high. Similar to what Callum's saying. We dug the draw out against Kilmarnock. No, we beat Kilmarnock, dug the draw up at St Johnstone. I mean, a game where, when you look at the highlights, loads of chances there, we should have taken them. When we changed formation against Rangers, we beat them 3-1.
Mhm.
So I was quite happy. I mean, Dundee got the point off them, but Dundee started with 5 at the back, closing down space. I mean, so they played the whole game. So there's things there in terms of changes we're making. But do we have the personnel that are driving every area of the pitch? No. I think we're creating more threat up top. So I think Motherwell had to respect that. I mean, and they were a bit deeper. Second half, they just put 3 up top and were just bombing at us. I mean, which gave that sort of 20 minutes, I mean, where they scored and then we get the penalty. After the penalty, you're saying, why can't we play like that? Because we controlled the ball for the rest of the game. And I think it was maybe Levitt must have been struggling from sort of that 55th minute onwards before he got subbed. I mean, I don't know if it was cramp or a kick he got. I mean, but we lost control of the ball for a period of time, a bit ping ball. And that's where the concern for us comes, is that not enough depth, too many injuries getting picked up, a decent squad, but too many people on the table with the physios. I mean, so yeah, content where we are. Looking forward to a game on Saturday in the Cup, and Ross County can take care of itself.
And in terms of bringing players in, so what are we, on this 16th of January, about to tip into the 17th of January, so past the halfway point, we've not brought anybody in yet. There are definitely a few folks starting to get twitchy about it when you look at social media. How relaxed are you, or otherwise, John, for our current inactivity on the transfer front?
It's that all the reminders you get of this, of the line, the 5 of them lined up with Claros in the picture. You got down the slope guys.
I start twitching when I see that picture.
Aye. I mean, the thing is, I like out that lot. Claros, I thought could have been a player for us, but he just didn't hang around long enough. Down slope guys were saying, is it my leader didn't sign till the 17th of January last year, who was our first signing? I mean, so if we've got something of that quality coming, then that's what I think we're looking for. I don't think we're not looking for. I mean, I was chatting with John when we were in the pub that night. We're not looking for Marcondes. I mean, we don't want somebody who's had an injury, who's a bit of a real baller player in a possession league. I mean, to come in and try and play in the middle in a hustle bustle Scottish Premiership, because they'll just run at him. I mean, and he'll get lost in the game. Maulida was different because his pace and his craft round about the penalty area was a real danger, and his 10 goals kept us safe. So that's the sort of partnership there that you're looking for. I mean, I'm not sure who's coming back from injury. Bowie will probably be influencing if they're bringing a striker in, Kuharovic as well. I mean, there was a brilliant cross put in by Cadden in the first half on Saturday. Unfortunately, it was Dwight Gale that was in the middle and no Kuharovic. I mean, because he just couldn't get up high enough to reach the ball. There's those variations that we're missing. So yeah, I'm quite content just now. If we got 2 or 3 quickly because they were already lined up and whatever was coming through, the young centre back from Bournemouth, I presume he's still injured because his name's not battering around. I can't remember the Welsh laddie. Bevan. Yeah. I mean, it'll be the first transfer window in a while that he's not getting mentioned.
He'll get touted on transfer deadline day. That's what we'll hear about it happening. Transfer deadline day. We'll say he's on his way. It'll be 11:30, and by 11:45, he'll be injured and on his way back down the road.
Well, the biggest danger for us is probably outs.
I mean, is there anybody you're really worried about losing?
we're talking about Levitt having got in and controlled that game. Now, Motherwell are sitting above us. I would say that other than Rangers and Celtic games, you could put Levitt in the middle of the pitch and he's going to control a lot of it. A lot of the games against the other teams in the league. So he's going to mean if somebody like Wrexham came in for him, he would go. And that would be our one craft midfield player away. So what have you got coming in behind that? LA, I love him to bits, but it's starting to look like he doesn't like to play in a transfer window. You know what I mean? I'm joining the dots here, and it's really, really unfair, and we've been told that he's injured. But there's just that bit where the fans are now joining dots, I mean, whether they're true or not, I mean, to wonder whether he wants to be somewhere else. But the player we had 3 or 4 weeks ago, I mean, was causing problems for people. Even at Tynecastle, he was causing problems before he went off. I mean, so you're thinking he's picked up an injury, it's just taken too long to get better. These are the players, I mean, that we don't want to lose. And so it's probably that side of it. If I'm worried about anything, it's what could be going from the squad. I don't see Boyle going down to Australia this window because I don't think they could pay for him. I don't think their league does transfers fees, so I don't think they could afford to pay for Boyle. So I mean, he's not going. Again, Miller. I mean, Triantis, we're told isn't going back to Sunderland, which is great. So that's the side that worries.
And I suppose there is some comfort there, like the 3-3 with Rangers was done without O'Hara, was done without Yuan, without Joe Newell, without Levitt. You know, like we managed to get results without key players sort of throughout the season. Well, I say throughout the season, throughout like the latter part of the season. Once we started turning the results around. John A on YouTube said Alan Hansen used to say that you should always play your strongest starting 11. Can't disagree. And Joe Leslie said we've bid 720,000 for a Swedish 17-year-old and are having a look at a North Macedonia defensive central midfielder. John, where would you see our priorities? Like if you were going to strengthen, what position? If you don't get one or two in, what are you looking at?
On the basis that Ekpiteta isn't too far away from coming back, I think Gray's update on the injuries was most should be back before the end of January. And so that would be 2 strikers coming back, one and a defender. I would still be looking at that proper number 6. I mean, I saw someone the other day saying, has Triantis turned into an 8? I mean, because whilst he's ball winning, actually he's driving forward in the game against Motherwell. That was actually the really important bit, and that was taking us up the pitch. It's the player that will control the midfield for us is the one that's in my head, because I don't think Triantis is quite that player yet, and Levitt could be part of a 3, but I'd be looking. He's the McGeoch type player. I'd be looking for the Scott Allen.
Fair dues. Stephen, bring in next. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine, thanks, Matty. Had a bit of ill health over Christmas, which is why I wasn't on the phone.
I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you're better now.
I think it was probably COVID, to be honest, based on the symptoms and things, but I'm kind of over it now. I'll be honest, I didn't see any of the Motherwell game. Similar to Ian, it was my birthday earlier this week, and the wife treated me to an overnighter and then promptly ruined it by deciding she wanted to go as well. So I'm on the road to recovery now.
Happy birthday to you as well, belatedly.
Thank you.
Where would you want to kick off tonight?
I'm happy.
I didn't mean to start a fight. I mean, like, what do you want to talk about?
It'd be a fight you'd win very easily. I'd like to go back to the Rangers game. I'm still raging about the fallout from mainly the Rangers side of things about that penalty. I swore blind at the time that Hadji came across his back before he clipped his legs, and all this pish that it was accidental collision. It's not an accidental collision if there's a barge in the back first. So just to be honest with you, to see the fallout from that Clement is just it's like heroin, because that guy is a fucking idiot. He really, really is. The guy's unhinged. He honestly is. He's unhinged. He's fallen right into the trap of being a Rangers manager and just thinking the whole world's against you. So that was hilarious to see. The Rangers game, terrible start. The defending for the first 2 goals were just shambolic, but the fighting spirit to come back was absolutely incredible. And I think somebody made the point that when we changed formation, we won the game 3-1, and we were quite comfortable in the game, to be honest. although Rocky showed both sides of Rocky. He was brilliant, and he was also calamitous at his very, very best. But the Rangers game showed that something I've criticised the players for in the past this season, that they haven't fought for the manager. But I thought they dug in and were brilliant. Somebody also mentioned the change to the back three, which, if memory serves right, was probably caused by Abita's red card that caused the change in formation, because for some reason we've got one left back in the entire squad. But the form since then has been fantastic, and obviously David Gray's realised that and he's stuck with it. But somebody asked a question earlier about do we see the run continuing? I think now we've got the festive period out the way.
Somebody can have another whiskey, please.
It's your birthday and you can have whatever you want.
Ian, that was as quiet as you thought.
Yeah, so the run, I think now we've got festive period out the way. I think probably it's mostly Saturday games now. So that should help a wee bit with the thinness of the squad. I can't see many wholesale changes in the squad. I can't see too many players leaving because the squad is quite thin. Equally, I can't see too many players coming in. So if we're now back to Saturday games or Sunday, that kind of thing, I'd be relatively happy with the squad as it is. And the form, you look at the ones that we've had. We've played some good teams on paper. Fair enough, Aberdeen are out of form, but in theory, the next few games are a little bit easier on paper. So I don't see, if the players continue playing at the performance that they're at just now, I don't see any reason why the run can't continue. Personally,
it's a really refreshing change to see us go to like Pittodrie, Tynecastle, have Rangers come to Easter Road, and no just no lose any of those games, but like the two wins, at Tynecastle and Pittodrie, coming back for 2-0 down at home to Rangers. There definitely seems to be something a bit more about the team just now, Stephen.
Absolutely, and it's probably confidence. Although I didn't see any of the game Saturday, a few of the guys were mentioning it, when it went 2-1 in the past, it's probably a case of the arse starts to go, because you just know what's coming. I remember under Jack Ross, the amount of games we were 2-0 up, we drew 2-2 was absolutely crazy. But on Saturday we disproved that arse shakiness by actually moving forward and getting the third. Similar back to the Aberdeen game at Easter Road. When we went 3-2 down, we went 3-3, and then we would look like we were potentially going to win the game as well. So it's just a seismic change in the confidence of the players, and that's probably, you have to say, it's down to, and I'll hold my hands up, I'd say I think one of the phone-ins probably mid to late November that I didn't see David Gray turning it around. I'll hold my hands up. Same with Triantis as well. I'm big enough for man to admit when I'm wrong. He's been brilliant, probably since the mistake in the Celtic game to gift the third goal. He's been fantastic. He's been probably in the top three players. I think Boyle's really stepped up as well. I don't know if Boyle's looking for maybe a pre-contract in January for the end of the season, or working ahead of the end of the season, or you never know, he might want another contract with us. I'd love him to stay and get to 100 goals, but even if he doesn't stay, I'm happy that he's starting to justify the money that we've paid for him, and obviously we pay each week for him. But he's been fantastic the last few weeks. Back to the Boyle that we'll love and remember.
Absolutely. I think we spoke about him sort of losing his almost talismanic status that he had before, but it definitely seems to be coming back up. Callum, you put your hand up. I'll bring you in there now.
It was Stephen mentioned about the change of formation, and I've noticed over the past few weeks, whether it's pundits or other kind of like podcasts and stuff, there seems to be this narrative that we found it by accident or we were forced to play it. But if you remember back to like pre-season, we played it 3 at the back in a few of the pre-season games. But as it got into the League Cup, could you imagine if we'd started 3 at the back against Elgin and Kelty and all that kind of stuff? It'd have been like written off for the very start of the season. So I think it was always in his mind that we could play that. And I think, obviously, given the poor start to the season, one of the biggest criticisms, apart from the individual mistakes, was creating chances and no scoring goals. So if he was then seen to stick on more defenders when we weren't scoring goals, it was almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's just a personal bugbear of mine. It's almost by accident. It's due to red cards and stuff. I think we're more than capable of playing the 3-5-2.
Was it no Chris Cadden's? Is it no Chris Cadden's injury up at Forfar that took him off when we were playing the 3-5-2? I mean, that forced us back into the 4 at the back because we only had one right back in Miller.
That's right. He was injured very early.
Cadden was then out for a wee while. I mean, because he started with that, and we were complete control of that game against Forfar, having a couple of seasons before really struggled.
That's right, yeah. But I remember that it was one of the televised friendlies, the one over in Holland against Pauk or whatever it was. We went to a back three in that game, maybe for the second 45 or whatever.
We were really good in that friendly as well because they were a good team and we sort of kept them at bay. I wonder whether everybody's kind of there's almost like a bit of misdirection going on with the changing systems. I don't think there's any doubt that it's helped. I think there's been a big shift in the work rate for the players as well. Like I remember, I can't remember the game, but I'm sure mentioned on the podcast about players coming off and they never had their dirty shorts. You know, like they looked like they could have went back out and played again. And I think now, like the end of the game against Rangers, the players were flat out. I mean, the final whistle went and they just kind of hit the deck. Yeah. Same against Motherwell, and it's difficult for Hibs to get up. As we've seen historically, the Rangers games or the derbies take care of themselves in terms of the work rate that the players go on with. But we followed up the derby with a good performance and a win, and we followed up the Rangers game with a good performance and a win, and that work rate seems to be there as well. And I don't know if it's like that. Everybody's looked at the system, but I reckon we could have probably played a different system and got similar results because of that sort of seismic shift and the effort that the players are showing.
And it was called out. It was called out by, I think it was Nicky Cadden after the St Mirren game and Dwight Gale after the Dundee United away game, where they both said the players need to look at themselves. And I think that's quite damning. And they're obviously new to this squad. So they've obviously came for kind of a different changing room, a different kind of culture and stuff like that, and went, this isn't right. And for a player to go into the media, I think it kind of shows that there maybe just wasn't, whether for whatever reason the mentality wasn't quite there. But even Stevie mentioned Boyle as well. Whether he was looking for a move, whatever happened, he found himself out of the team, and he quickly realised that I'm not the star man on the right. I'm fucking getting splinters on my arse. Like, I need to get back on this part. And to be fair, we're reaping the rewards for that. And all it does now is put another question mark over if we're going to keep him, if he's going to get a new deal, or if he's going to look after his family. But I think whatever's happened, and then obviously it came out that the players took themselves away, not involving coaches or management, and had a chat and stuff. And they've obviously put their heads together and just went, listen, this isn't fucking good enough. And I think, as you say, Matt, it wouldn't have mattered what system we played. There's been a real shift in the mentality and the work rate of the players.
Hey, John, your hand up, and then come to you next once we've heard from John.
No, Ian might have comment on it as well. One of the things that the coaches seem to do now is have a real idea of what players for what positions and what games. So you think, Mariah Welsh is the one that jumps out. I thought his performance coming in on the left side of a midfield three against Rangers was brilliant.
Yeah. Gets
caught out with a short pass back that about 3 minutes later gives away a goal and gets the blame for the goal. But overall, on that left side, the energy, he was picking up the ball, he was driving. Triantis in the middle, then got a bit more freedom in terms of how he was playing. But he then doesn't come straight back in. So whether the coaches are realising that Mariah Welsh's strength is in a 3 or a 4, I mean, with other players round about him, they've realised that Nicky Cadden's strength is actually as a wing back. I mean, again, you're looking at the back three allows them to say, well, actually, we've got the two we've got on the right hand side, whether it be Miller or Cadden. I mean, they're both right wing backs, they're not right backs. So what it's taken, I mean, is players they've stopped the fuck ups in the games.
Yep.
Stupid red cards and all this sort of stuff that are costing. I mean, Rocky's mistake that nearly made it 4-3. Yeah, it didn't this time. So, but we forget about it. But most of that stuff's not impacting. So the players can then influence the game, and the coaches have got that understanding now. The fact that they're playing two up top. I mean, we're not playing two strikers. We're managing to play two sort of a winger and an agent striker. But with that support behind them and Campbell, there's just enough parity. So I think the coaches have probably got to grips with the squad between July and November and got a better idea of who plays where.
That's a good point. And actually, Ian, you've mentioned this a few times about it, like having a coach who's learning on the job, and this kind of thing. So I'll bring you in now, Ian. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks very much.
How old are you today?
43.
43. You don't look a day over 42.
I'm just older than Elvis, yeah. So it's funny because what John was just talking about, and John was talking really about selection there, and before that, Callum was talking about systems of play. And you look at what a coach can do. If you go back to the Rangers game, as you say there, we're watching David Gray still learning. So in terms of tactics, so obviously for Rangers game, we got the tactics wrong. We pressed too high, too aggressive. And I mentioned this on the chat a couple of weeks ago, wherever the Rangers game was. But it's almost like he thought we could do what Celtic had failed to do days before, and he got a similar result, obviously. But that's the tactics. Then the selection, he got the selection wrong because he played Con again, and he was being very poor every time he's come on. But David went on better and actually started against the Rangers, and he missed 2 tackles in the first 30 seconds. So, and I mentioned before, East Stand man behind me. He's fucking shite. Get him off. And interestingly enough, Dwight Gale was actually shouting at Con 27 minutes 45 seconds for being too negative. And Mariah Welsh made an immediate impact when he came on. So that's the selection. So you've got the tactics in selection and then the coaching. So the third mistake that David made, well, the third learning point, as we say in coaching, David was too hands off with Mariah Welsh, who, once he made that mistake, he began to fade out the game and he panicked. And David, at that point, I think, should have been screaming at Mariah Welsh to get himself back into the game. So, again, it's a learning point. And 4, obviously, the substitutions. So, when you think about the different ways that David is learning as he's going through coaching and these experiences, it's fascinating to watch him. And the good thing is, because we're now performing well, he'll get the time, which is what he's always needed. I think it was Colin that noticed that Rangers, in the Rangers game, they slowed everything down. And I don't know if it was the Euro game or whatever, but it was interesting that Cherny, if you watch it on repeat, if you watch Cherny after Rangers went 1-0 up, Cherny was actually signalling everyone to come up from the other side of the pitch, the other end of the pitch, to celebrate. And he was deliberately slowing it down. And then we saw them walk into corner kicks. So they were wasting time after 1-0 up. And it was really fascinating to watch that. And of course, once we went 2-0 down, I don't know if everyone else noticed, but there were lots of Hibbies leaving. They were actually leaving already. But the great thing was, in the famous 5, Block 7 were still chanting away. So thanks again to Block 7. But it was just amazing watching David learning there. And it was obviously it was good fun, the Rangers game. And Motherwell game, it was all about Levitt, really. It's just a joy to watch him. As Callum said there, I was actually glad to hear that what David Gray said about, based on his St Johnstone performance, he would have played him against Rangers. So interesting to hear David Gray say that, because I felt it was wrong that Levitt was left out, and I thought it was disappointing that Cohen was in, but now we know why. Against Motherwell, obviously, Rocky was excellent. He was just entertaining, and it was such a shame at the end he didn't get his pass from Boyle. Very interesting to see the team of the week, the SPL team of the week, including Boyle, Triantnis and Josh Campbell. And obviously we've had David Gray getting the coach award for the previous month. And funnily enough, the player of the month is also Kathleen McGovern for the Hibs. I don't know if you saw that, but I watched the Hibs game, the United game, the other night. It was brilliant seeing some of the goals scored. The only thing I've been disappointed with as far as transfers is concerned was to see that Josh Landers has been allowed to go to West Ham for trials there, because I've always felt that Josh Landers needed to be given a chance, considering we needed a striker, and I would much rather have seen him than Kukarevich. So in terms of what you've been talking about, who do we need? Again, we just don't know what the club wants to do. But if the club wants to win the league, then we need new players. So if we want to get 4th, then we just need to bring some loan players back, I think at the very most. I'll stick to my start of season prediction, which is 4th. But as the other John said, there's been no corner turned here. There's just been a gradual improvement, and it's been really interesting to see the players have been, in recent interviews, have been talking about luck, individual mistakes and confidence, etc. And it's funny because my brother Gogs came round the other day, and he said, I never need Hibs social media, and then proceeded to quote Hibs.net verbatim. And, obviously, and it was good to hear Stephen there saying that, and a few other admissions on this call just now, but replace the whole squad, I remember vividly, get rid of Gray, obviously, drop Triantnis, which I could not believe, as John said, I mean, I've loved him since the end of last season when he was moved to midfield, and obviously sacked the board. And I assume that Box 7 are still got their Box 7 upside down because they still want the board sacked. But there's been no corner turn. There's just been a gradual improvement, and so I'm actually enjoying the game just now.
But when do you think they'll turn the sign back around? What does anybody know? Like, what's the trigger for getting that sign back up the right way around?
I presume either the board's sacked or Donald Trump is inaugurated or something, or maybe the ceasefire's enacted on Sunday after another 50 people killed today.
Aye.
I think the board have got quite an interesting few months coming, given the promises of the CEO last year as to how fantastic the accounts were going to be this year.
Oh, right.
Okay. Yeah, the board have got out of jail a little bit football wise. Their cannonball run approach to recruitment over the past few years clearly has put us in a real mess. We're trying to dig our way out of that. Staff at the club and the players are doing a decent job of that. But I think, should the board be in our crosshairs? Yes.
I didn't think
ownership of the club, and they're still racking up debt.
But John, I didn't think Box 7 were complaining about that. You know, there's one other thing I noticed
in terms of the. Yeah, but Matty will be going along to the AGM in a couple of months' time. Then we'd to be told by the CEO how great the accounts are, given what he promised last year.
Could I just ask everyone if they noticed? I can't remember which match it was. Dimitri Mitchell's playing for who at the moment? I noticed something the other
Exeter City.
He scored a couple of. He was on a hat trick, wasn't he? Like I don't know if he got the hat trick. He scored a couple of goals. I remember seeing him. He ended up falling out with a load of folk on Hibs Twitter, didn't he? Like after he left, it was like a weird thing. I never really bear players like any ill will when they leave the club, and then you see folk totally haranguing them on Twitter, and he definitely bit with it. I think I don't care what he was moaning about, but there you go. Joe, I'm going to come back to you. We've got obviously, and I know I'll say Cowdenbeath. We've got Clydebank on Saturday in the cup. We sort of mentioned the strongest team. Well, how do you see that game going?
Well, I think Hibs will win easily. I think we should play our strongest team right for the start and make changes at half time once we're 3 or 4-0 up, because we should be that against that. But can I go back quickly to what you were saying about who do we sign, etc.?
Yeah, of course.
When Jose Mourinho 20 years ago started his great run at Chelsea, he built from the back. Goalkeeper. Jordan Smith's not tall enough. And I don't think he's good enough. He's been an okay stand-in, and he's certainly better than what was there before in the earlier part of the season. But I do think Gray's making a mistake by stating that he's not going to sign another goalkeeper at this point. Anyway, that's me. I had my bitch about that. But going back to the Clydebank game, I think we should just play our strongest team for the first half, get 3 or 4 goals up, then bring on, the people that are wanted to be eased in if they're coming back from injury, etc.
And do you think we need a lot of surgery in the transfer window, Joe? With the fortnight or so that's left before the window closes, are we needing? So you mentioned a goalkeeper there. Is it just the goalkeeper you're worried about, or
goalkeeper? If we can find a creative midfield player, we didn't get Luke McCurran, but somebody of that ilk. If not, move my pal Dylan up to number 10.
Fair enough. I'll just grab a couple of comments off the YouTube. Joe said, no mention of a keeper yet. All eyes on Miko and Bowie this weekend to see if we need a striker or not. Ian Toghill said, hello, a bit late tonight, out looking at new motorcycles. I hope you found one, Ian. And he said, workmate is chalk and cheese from earlier in the season, and then work rate, that is, not a bench. Joe Les said, I think the Boyle situation depends a lot on his missus having a contract at Hibs. Stevie said, even in all, everything is well at Hibs for a change. Strange times. Joe says, the 1 million we didn't spend on McCowan will have helped the balance. And Stevie said, Cameron from Dundee would be a great signing for us. There's a bit of chat about him going to Rangers or Aberdeen, but Joe, you're sort of nodding there. Is he a player that you think we should be in the market for?
Oh, he's a quality player. There's no question. I think, though, Hibs are sitting on their hands and on their checkbook because there are so many players still need to be offloaded. but I still think before the 31st of January, we need to bring in probably a goalkeeper and certainly a midfield player, a creative midfield player. That's my view.
Okay, Jeff, we obviously have a lot of players out of contract at the end of the season. There's probably, I would think, a different view on quite how drastic the clear out needs to be now compared to 10, 11 games ago. Where do you stand in it? Do you think there's still a lot of we still have to take the opportunity to sort of clear out the squad and start again, or would you be looking to tie down a few of the players that are out of contract to keep them longer?
Well, a few of them have put themselves in the category that perhaps we should be keeping them. And I'm thinking of Rocky, Martin Boyle's made, turned a few people's opinions around. Miller, another Marmite player. Personally, he's young enough to get better and cut out some of the, like Rocky. I know Rocky's not young, but he's not played as much football as a normal 25-year-old who's been a senior pro. So I'd certainly think about keeping those three. Who else is out of contract? Forgotten.
So depends who you ask. If you ask Brian McLaughlin, because he's
the one. Yeah, actually playing football for us at the moment. Actually, the first team. Those are the three. It depends what if we can bring in better than Boyle and younger and quicker, and the wage he's on. Then thanks for your efforts, Martin. Bye bye. But he's such a talismanic figure. That's a difficult one. Rocky's becoming a bit of a cult hero, and it's going to break a lot of people's hearts if he's not given a new contract, mine included. But I'd understand why he's not if we get somebody better in, better, reliable, can play whatever style of football that David Gray wants. So but the rest of them, your Amos and McCurdy and that ilk, just go. You've definitely had your chance. I feel sorry for Harry McCurdy with his illness and that goal that he should have got at Aberdeen that the guy handled. That could have been his beginning of his arc of redemption. But there you go.
Ian on the chat said, not sure about that, Matt. I still think there are many that can go in free wages, and Stevie says agreed. Stephen, what about you? I mean, has this recent run of form made the whole sort of decision-making process for Malcolm Mackay and David Gray and Garvin Stewart more difficult or easier?
It's a good question. I would say it's probably made it a bit more difficult. The fact that we're now in the 16th of January and we've not signed anybody after all the activity to get players out right at the start of the month, to me suggests that they're maybe holding back on wholesale changes that were maybe forecast mid to end of November. Don't get me wrong, I think there will still be massive, and there's also to consider as well, there's also the statement from the start of the season that it will be ripped up and rebuilt in the summer. So how much of the rebuild can you actually do in January when it's notoriously difficult to get players, possibly pay over the odds for players as well, and it's more difficult to shift players. So I can't see massive wholesale changes now with the run that we're on, but I do think we need, if we can push out the likes of Amos and McCurdy, that no disrespect to them, they've not really contributed, nor are they able to contribute. I don't think they're good enough or interested enough. If we're able to shift them on, I can certainly imagine Amos and McCurdy are on relatively decent terms as well. So if that frees up some wages and we're able to bring some in, ideal. I'm with Joe. I do think we need at least, I would certainly terminate Bursick's loan. I don't see why we would keep him to the end of the season. I'm not sure we would get a number one this window, but we would certainly need a number two, and I'm not sure Murray Johnson is maybe ready to be number two, especially if he's then called upon to play the rest of the season. I don't even think he's getting a game at Airdrie, which is sad considering they're second, I think, at the bottom of the championship. So I certainly think we need to either sign a goalkeeper or identify who we want to sign. See Xander Clark signing. I would have taken Xander Clark in a heartbeat, to be quite honest. I'm kind of gutted that he's signing Clarks. I definitely think we need somebody creative. Somebody mentioned we need a Scott Allen type player. I think we certainly do. And maybe a striker that we can rely on to maybe start a route, because he's chopped and changed between Gale and Karovic. Great if we can get Bowie back. Not sure how many minutes he'll have. I know David was nursing him at the start of the season, and then he played for Scotland, and then that's where he got the injury from. If he is available to play Saturday, not sure I would start him. I think he's maybe the option to come off the bench and maybe get 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a wee bit longer if we're comfortable. On Saturday, I would go put my Football Manager head on. I would try and give some players some minutes. I would try and go strong. It's too risky to not go strong. But at the same time, you need to. This is where you can utilise the 5 subs that you have available. You can basically use half of your bench pretty much to come on and get some minutes. But yeah, not a huge amount of changes for me. But at the same time, looking how tight the league is, we could very easily, after a couple of performances, find ourselves very near the bottom again.
Mental way that the league's that tight that even after the run we've been on, you still no actually can clear the danger. Callum, one of the players that was mentioned earlier on, I'll get a quick view on this, and then we'll sort of round up and get some predictions for Saturday. Nathan Mariah Welsh sort of been out of the picture for a large part of the season. Came on against Rangers, did well. Came on again against Motherwell. Has he got a future at the club, or do you think this is a case of just sort of David Gray using the squad that's available for him until time's up in the summer?
I think he has. I like him. I think it was John that mentioned that even though he gave that pass against Rangers, there was a lot more defending to do after that. I was actually a bit disappointed that when Gray brought on Kwon for Levitt, he didn't bring on Mariah Welsh first. He got on later on for maybe for Campbell. So he didn't get many minutes in the game, but I think he does. And you could see he is neat and tidy on the ball. He's got that kind of industry. Again, it's a question of is he a player that can control the game? Absolutely not. But no, I think he has a future. It's just whether I think we seem to still have quite a kind of an unbalanced midfield. A lot of talk's been about kind of John Yo and missing him recently. And although you might not have labelled him as a standout at all this season, you can see when he's not playing. Whether it's just not having that natural left-sided midfielder there. We saw it a lot with Rocky last season playing left centre half, and every short by kick was going to him and having to work it across and different things. So it does affect the balance. But no, I think he does have a future. I'd like to see him kind of get a few more minutes in place of Kwon. And I'm similar to the kind of views on Bursick. Just send him back. There's no point in developing him because he's not doing anything for us. And I can't really see that changing, to be honest.
It's unlikely that he's going to shift Smith, unless something happened to Smith, and even then, I think you're looking at Bursick being the one to come in. Okay, right. Let's look ahead to Saturday. Get some score predictions. John, we'll kick off with you.
We've got to treat this ability Bonnyrigg Rose at Tynecastle, except that we put out our strongest team at the beginning. We're playing a team leagues down. I think we were 3-1 up at half time in that game. Then went on to run out in the second half. I was just double checking there. Clydebank haven't had a competitive game since the 14th of December.
What was that
Everything
about?
else has been postponed in between.
What the hell?
They should have had a couple of games, but the game we've had that freezing spell, so they've not played for a month. I mean, so the whole idea is that you don't panic in the first hour. In the game, we should be good enough to be ahead at that point, and if not, we'll stroll away in the last 30 minutes.
Okay, final score?
So I would expect us to be scoring north of 4 goals.
5 then. All right. Jeff?
I'm going for 4-0. As everyone says, start as strong as you can, given in mind some players have been carrying injuries, and we should be strong enough. As strong as we can. Bring Bowie on second half, Kaharovic, anyone else. I like to see some of the young guys on the bench as well. Somebody like Landers, who's now down at West Ham, which is a bit. Is it Landers that's gone down?
It is, yeah.
That'd be an ideal game for him. I'd rather have him on the bench than McCurdy. Surely. Anyway, so 4-0. Comfortable, hopefully. I hope I'm kiboshed it and get a few players in. I like to see. If Bowie can keep fit and Kaharovic keeps fit, we've already proved we can play without them. So it takes the need away to desperately sign a new striker if he's going to keep fit. And that's a big if, because he's not had a good injury record this last year.
No, we definitely wish him all the best and can he coming back and staying back.
He seems a good lad.
Yeah.
Top lad. Yeah.
Joe, what's the score going to be?
Hibs 7, Clydebank 0.
Well, you're matching Craig McCallum in the comments has chucked a 7-0 in there as well. Stevie's got his 5-0 and Ian's got his 6-0. So you're in good company. Callum, what were your score prediction?
I'll go for 6-0 and I fancy a Josh Campbell hat-trick. He's not had one for a while.
I'll be due one. I need him to get about 13 goals to match my prediction for having him as top scorer. So, Josh, if you're listening, start and score, please. Stephen, what about you?
Main thing's obviously getting through. Somebody said that they've not had a game since the 14th of December. I was thinking they'll be fresh then. I remember they've all probably got work tomorrow. I'd go strong from the start. If we're clear by 3 or 4 at half time, make wholesale changes at half time. I'll give them. It's probably the biggest game they've had in possibly their history. So I'll go 5-1 Hibs.
5-1, nice one. I always remember that bloody semi-final against them over the road where they hadn't played for ages and they were in the league below and they fucking beat us. It just it totally makes me not think that that's an advantage anymore. Ian, last word for you is a birthday. What's your birthday prediction for the Hibs?
Just as Stephen mentioned Murray Johnson there, I would bring Murray Johnson back. He's not doing any good there. I would bring back Kenai Omegwa and I'll look forward to Kieran being back. It's going to be dangerous on Saturday. I'm playing against Cowdenbeath. They've been unbeaten in 12. So I'm agreeing with others. We've got to play our strongest team. And I'm going for the same score as my son Callum's first game against Clydebank in 1992, 5-1.
5-1, okay, doke. Right. We will wrap up there. Just before we go, a quick well done to Scott Henderson, who won the Leith Spirits and Refined draw to get hospitality on Saturday. He'll be in Pioneers with me and John. So look forward to seeing you there, Scott, enjoying the free bar and the food before hopefully a fine Hibs win. I just want to see us work as hard as we did in the Motherwell and Rangers games. I know you probably don't need to when you're playing Clydebank, but I think, like if we just maintain that work rate, just to say that's the bar and we're not going to drop from it now, that would keep me happy. And I think if we do that, we'll have a real comfortable win. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the game. Thanks everybody for coming on. Ian, enjoy the rest of your birthday. And
Cheers,